the day SAT scores dropped. The news that I'd secured the top score in the state with a near-perfect 1590 hit the #1 trending spot on social media. The live comments, however, were drowning in toxicity. Doesn't matter how high this NPC scores. Whether she picks Harvard or Yale, our baby girl is just going to swap admissions with her using a luck-stealing charm. She's just a hillbilly from the boonies. Does she actually think she's the main character in some comeback story? She doesn't realize she's just cannon fodder to make our heroine look better. Just wait until baby girl swaps their college choices and steals her true heiress destiny. Then this girl can just go ahead and exit the chat permanently. God, I love a career-focused queen who doesn't get distracted by romance. I lowered my eyes, tucking the cuff of my purple Taoist robe out of sight, and silently shoved the admission letter for the Sanqing Academy of Metaphysics back into my backpack. My fake heiress sister was currently using dark, underhanded arts, sacrificing our family's entire financial fortune to try and steal my future. She didn't know that I hadn't applied to the Ivy League at all. And she definitely didn't know that when her black magic collided with an admission letter stamped personally by the three pure ones, the highest deities of Taoism, what she was stealing wasn't my future. It was the Song family's coffin money. 88 ceremonial cannons blasted at the school gates. Amidst the drifting confetti, my biological father was holding a megaphone, shouting at the TV cameras. To celebrate my daughter, the Song family heiress, becoming the state scholar, every media friend present today gets a red envelope with 8,888. Unaccustomed to this kind of grandstanding, my toes curled in second-hand embarrassment. I was just about to find a quiet corner to hide in when my sister, Summer Song, suddenly lunged over and hugged me. She blinked her doe-like eyes and handed me a wooden tablet. Jojo, I went to the most spiritually potent temple to pray for this. It's a good luck charm. It'll definitely guarantee you get into your first choice school. I looked down. The wooden tablet, engraved with gold list scholar, was swirling with black smoke. The smoke slithered over my fingertips and drilled into my sleeve like a snake. This was a luck-borrowing hex, extremely vicious stuff. Once that black smoke entered the body, it would transfer all my fortune to Summer. I casually snapped my fingers. The wooden tablet instantly snapped in two. The black smoke dissipated, leaving only a pungent smell of burnt wood in the air. Cheap parlor tricks. Trying to use magic on me? That's like a grandkid trying to lecture their grandfather. I wear the purple robe, the highest rank in the Taoist order. Summer, I'm the top scorer in the state. Getting into my first choice is a given. I don't think I need a luck charm, do I? With the transfer spell broken, Summer's smile froze on her face. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. The live stream comments exploded. Why is this NPC so arrogant? She's just a small-town test-taking robot. What's she acting so cool for? All she knows is rote memorization. Baby sister, don't cry. This person is just trash with no upbringing. Breaking a gift? My heart hurts for you. That hillbilly doesn't know what's good for her. Don't worry, baby girl will swap the admissions soon. Let's see if she can keep up that attitude when she gets shipped off to some diploma mill. The NPC only exists to highlight how perfect and wealthy our baby girl is. I almost laughed out loud. No wonder Summer had been pestering me every day since I returned to the Song family, asking which school I was applying to. She wanted to use the charm to steal my admission. I had only come down from the mountain to take the exams to clear out some evil spirits at the school. Years ago, I was switched at birth and abandoned in the mountains, where a kind Taoist priest took me in. I never resented my rough start. I dedicated myself to the Tao, earning the purple robe by 16. My masters called me a prodigy. I planned to stay at the temple for the rest of my life. As for this heroine versus NPC narrative, I couldn't care less. Although the Ivies are great, I believe in fate, I said loudly. When I fill out my applications, I'm just going to lay out brochures for 100 schools and throw a dart. Even if I hit the Vocational Tech Institute for heavy machinery, that's my destiny. Jojo, you can't do that. Summer panicked instantly, though she quickly reined in her expression. You're the state scholar. How can you treat your application like a joke? What will people think of the Song family? That we're short-sighted and unambitious? Besides, Mom and Dad care so much about our future. If you throw it away like this, you'll break their hearts. Summer lectured me the whole way home. It wasn't until I mumbled, "Fine, I'll think about it," that she finally let out a breath. LMAO, she scores that high and is still indecisive? Born to be a side character. Our baby girl prioritizing her career is true main character energy. Reply to above. The Song family is the richest in the city. Maybe the NPC is just faking being a glorious daughter to grab the inheritance. Even Harvard grads don't make billions a year. Small-town strivers haven't seen real money. That village girl is definitely plotting for the assets. Unlike our Summer, who was born a princess, waiting for this gold digger to get exposed and kicked out. Grab the inheritance? Piles of gold and silver couldn't compare to my temple on Mount Sanqing. This was just their prejudice speaking. When we got home, my biological parents were grinning from ear to ear. You're the first state scholar in the Song family history. The relatives calling to congratulate us have practically blown up my phone. You don't know how happy your dad and I are. Good daughter, don't go running off to the mountain anymore. You're about to start college. Let your sister show you around the city. I nodded indifferently. They only acknowledged me when I was 18. I still haven't forgotten the look of disgust in their eyes when we first met. I was dusty, wearing a faded Taoist robe, holding a handful of foxtail grass. Standing next to them was Summer, in an exquisite pink dress, hair done up in a bun, looking like a porcelain doll. Their smiles froze that day, and my desire for family affection vanished right along with them. It wasn't until I consistently ranked first in my grade that they called me good daughter, for the first time. Before heading upstairs, I noticed a golden toad statue in the corner. I remembered Dad complaining in the family group chat a few days ago about having terrible luck, losing millions in investments and his antique collection cracking for no reason. I understood immediately. Summer's luck transfer charm was starting to work. Summer must have tattled to Mom and Dad about my plan to throw a dart for my college application. The next day, they hired a professional counselor to come to the house. While the counselor was analyzing which Ivy League program offered the best prospects, Summer pushed the door open and spoke timidly. "Teacher, can I listen in too? Right now, I'm focusing on your sister's high score options. Your grades aren't exactly top tier, Summer. I'll find another time to talk to you." As soon as the counselor spoke, the live comments started roasting him. "What do you mean baby girl's grades aren't top tier? She was always second in her grade. She only bombed the test on purpose to keep her score low for the swap. Just wait until she gets that Harvard acceptance letter. He's gonna regret this." For her to get into Harvard, I'd have to apply to Harvard first. As someone applying to a Taoist academy, I didn't understand why they were hyping up an impossible scenario. Were these the legendary toxic stands? Summer's eyes reddened and she left, choking back tears. That night, Mom came to talk to me. I had the college application guide in front of me. Mom, who had never made me a late-night snack, brought in a glass of warm milk for the first time. "Jojo, your sister is crying her eyes out. You're the older sister, why didn't you go comfort her? Summer told me she just cares about your choice. She has no intention of fighting you for a spot." With her scores, she had the nerve to talk about fighting for a spot. No one knew Summer's actual score yet. She had always been number 2 in the school, but on the day the exams ended, she cried, claiming she choked. Mom and Dad comforted her, saying that with her foundation, she could still get into a decent state school, even if she messed up. Even so, Summer refused to tell anyone her number. But I saw it in the stream comments. 850 out of 1600. Mom thinks you should just apply directly to the finance department at Wharton or Harvard. The family company needs people. You can intern during the holidays. Finance. I can barely manage the $100 in my pocket. I shouldn't ruin the company. What do you guys think about the heavy machinery program at the vocational tech? There are still 10 acres of unplowed land back on the mountain. If I learn to operate an excavator, it'll be useful for farming. No. Summer, who had been eavesdropping at the door, burst into the room, her face flushed red. "Jojo, that's a trade school. Do you have no shame? Trade school grads are second-class citizens compared to Ivy Leaguers. Hard to find jobs, low wages, manual labor, You should listen to mom. Apply for finance. Then you can manage the company later. I looked at Summer with amusement as she sweated with anxiety. My application determined her future. I wondered what her reaction would be when she found out I applied to a trade school. Summer, how is a trade school second class? What's shameful about making money with your own skills? You're the one who can't take off your elitist glasses. I wanted to use a turtle shell to pick my major. You said no. I want to pick the excavator program I like. You say no. I don't get it. I'm applying for college. What the hell does it have to do with you? Her eyes shifted. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth hooked up, and her right hand lunged out to strangle my neck. Sister, I gave you a luck charm and you broke it. I kindly asked you to apply to Harvard, and you insist on a trade school. Why can't you just be obedient? Mom and Dad only brought you back to save face when the scores came out. You're just a decoration. Don't even dream of getting a single cent of the Song family fortune. Otherwise, I'll make sure you can't stay in this house for another day. You might even pay with your life. Summer's voice was sweet, but her words were dripping with venom. I looked up and smiled, placing my hand over her wrist. Crack. Summer's wrist fractured. Her scream filled the room. I smiled, and while she looked at me in horror, I mimicked her earlier movement, gently placing my hand on her neck. Why can't you just be obedient? I was planning to treat you like a sister, but now? You better pray for yourself. Summer, wearing a cast for a week, refused to give up. This time, she brought backup. Luke, the school heartthrob who usually avoided me like the plague, actually sought me out. One minute he was giving me an unlimited black card, the next a pink diamond the size of a pigeon egg. He was going all out. The Song and Liu families had an arranged marriage pact for their children. Originally, the daughter was Summer, and they grew up as childhood sweethearts. When I was brought back, Luke met me symbolically. He frowned at my 5T shirt and baggy shorts, called me a village girl, and knelt before my dad. I don't care who the real daughter is, I will absolutely not marry that hillbilly JoJo Song. But now, Luke was acting like he'd eaten hallucinogenic mushrooms. He knelt on one knee, presenting an exquisite gift box. JoJo, I picked this sapphire necklace just for you. It matches your eyes. I avoided you before because I didn't want to distract you from your studies. But it's different now. You're the state scholar. Everyone is so happy. Why don't we apply to Harvard together? I heard from Summer you want to stay local? That would be such a waste of your grades. The stream chat went wild. Baby girl is a genius. Getting the male lead to brainwash the NPC. Every woman in this novel falls for the main character aura. Remember how the NPC looked at him like a lovesick puppy when she first came home? She's definitely going to fall for it. Male lead using the honey trap to secure the admission swap. Baby girl's Harvard finance degree is in the bag. Luke had clearly spruced himself up. His hair was curled, and he was wearing enough cologne to choke a horse. I glanced at the hair tie on his wrist. It was Summer's. I pinched my throat and feigned emotion. Luke, don't you city people say that if you love someone, you'll do anything for them? So, to be with me, would you be willing to give up Harvard and apply to the vocational tech excavator program with me? Luke's pretty brows furrowed. He opened his mouth several times, stopped, and finally asked weakly, That's not appropriate, is it? Just kidding, Luke. I didn't realize our hearts were so in sync. I actually prefer excavators, but for our future, I'm willing to suffer a bit and apply to Harvard finance with you. Ugh, total simp. One sweet word and she forgets who she is. LMAO, country girl has never seen a man. The male lead is hot, barely any woman can resist. I silently pulled out my phone, looked at a picture of a generic celebrity, then back at Luke's jawline which looked sharp enough to cut steak. I suppressed a twitch of my lips. The celebrity was hotter. After that day, Summer visibly relaxed. She probably thought her Harvard finance admission was secured. In contrast, the Song family business was not relaxing. At the dinner table, Dad's brow was locked tight. Several deals that were about to close today all fell through. The clients bailed last minute, saying someone else gave a lower quote. Sigh. Everything has been going wrong this month. Maybe we need to go to a temple and burn some incense. My gaze swept over the golden toad in the entryway. The copper coin in its mouth had turned a dull, dark gray. I pretended to point casually. When did you get that thing? Why is the color off? Before Dad could explain, Summer cut in. That's the wealth-summoning golden toad I brought back from Thailand. It was blessed by a master. I don't know why, but ever since Sister came home, it hasn't been working well. Wow, baby girl is quick-witted. She's trading the family fortune for the admission swap. And now she's shifting the blame to the NPC for the bad luck. Genius. Summer turned to Dad, her tone full of concern. Dad, remember Master Lee said that mountain energy attracts filth? Sister lived in the sticks for so long, she might have accidentally picked up something. Dad sat up straight, as if he'd found the root cause. Right. Summer, contact Master Lee immediately. Have him draw some cleansing charms and burn them into water for Jojo to drink. Purge the bad luck. He acted like he was dealing with a plague. I lowered my eyelids, my fingers gently stroking the cinnabar bracelet hidden in my sleeve, which was buzzing with energy. I had thought about helping them break Summer's luck-stealing hex, for the sake of blood relations. But seeing this, I wouldn't waste the effort. The night before the application portal closed, I used a class reunion as an excuse to go out. Before leaving, I secretly placed a blindness charm on my computer. As soon as I walked out of the villa, the bronze mirror in my hand clearly reflected Summer sneaking into my room. She expertly opened my computer. Seeing the application field display, Harvard University Finance, the corners of her mouth couldn't stop rising. Soon after, the family group chat blew up. Oh my God. Summer said she bombed the test, but she got a 1590. That's a lock for the Ivies. This child is too humble. Near perfect score, and she says she messed up. My parents threw a huge banquet the next day. Summer stood in the center, looking down with fake modesty. Actually, I didn't say anything because I was afraid Jojo would be sad. She suffered so much in the countryside. I wanted Mom and Dad to focus on her. The relatives praised her for being so sensible. I just smiled and didn't join their conversation. Soon the day the admission letters arrived came. Mom and Dad canceled work to sit at home and open packages with us. Summer, open it quick. Let Mom and Dad see what a Harvard acceptance letter looks like. Summer smiled softly. Let Jojo open hers first, right? After all, she's the state scholar. She emphasized state scholar, with a heavy mocking tone. The comments were boiling. Finally, the public execution of the NPC. Waiting for the face slap when she gets a community college letter, while baby girl gets Harvard. I picked up the express envelope casually. Since they're both from Harvard, let's open them together? Summer suddenly raised her voice. Sister, you're stalling. Did you actually not get in? Mom and Dad's expressions froze. Jojo, tell me the truth. Did you really submit the application? Expressionless, I tore open the envelope. Vocational Tech Institute Heavy Machinery Operation. The bold letters stared back at us. Summer gasped dramatically, but her eyes couldn't hide the triumph. Oh my God! Jojo, how could you lie to Mom and Dad? Mom and Dad's faces turned iron gray. Jojo-song, we went to all this trouble to bring you back from the country, fed you and clothed you, and you repay us with a trade school? Summer immediately patted Dad's back. Dad, calm down. Maybe the system made a mistake. You're the only sensible one. Dad looked at Summer with relief. Quick, Summer. You're the only pride I have left. Summer took her time tearing open her envelope. But when she saw the school name, her face disintegrated. Sanqing Mountain Academy of Metaphysics Celestial Master Elite Class? What is this? Jojo-song. Didn't you fill in Harvard Finance? What did you do? Seeing her scream and break character, I laughed. I pulled another admission letter out of my bag. As the paper glowing with faint golden light unfolded, revealing the Sanqing Academy acceptance letter, the room fell into a terrified silence. Summer's face went pale, as if her blood had been drained. In the entryway, the golden toad suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. The copper coin rolled onto the floor, cracking into pieces. Jojo-song, what kind of trick did you pull with the applications? I smiled. I prepared this specifically for you. A simple blindness charm was enough to trick you into eagerly swapping our admissions. Turns out you aren't that smart. I tapped the cinnabar seal on the letter. The golden light dimmed slightly, and color finally returned to Summer's face. This plot isn't going how I thought. Did the NPC know baby girl wanted to swap and counterplayed her? Wait, am I seeing things? Is she wearing a purple robe under her jacket? Holy crap! Is this village girl actually a hidden boss? Summer's face was a mix of fear and doubt. She lowered her voice. I underestimated you. But you're just a young Taoist with no seniority. Do you really think you can fight me? You won't even know how you died. I laughed out loud. My master is the only living immortal in the metaphysical world. At the Sanqing Temple, powerful people fight tooth and nail just to ask me for a single charm. No seniority was the funniest joke I'd ever heard. Mom and Dad finally snapped out of their shock. What is going on with you two? They had already announced to the world that the Song family had 2 scholars. They had bragged endlessly to the relatives. Now the letters were here, and neither was Harvard. Where would they put their faces? Tears streamed down Summer's face instantly. She threw herself into Mom's arms. Mom, Dad, you saw it. Sister learned some evil magic in the country and changed my application. I worked hard for years, and now my future is ruined. I might as well die. She grabbed the fruit knife on the table and aimed for her wrist. Mom and Dad tackled her in a panic to stop her. I worried about her application so much, and she does this to me. How did I ever offend her? The live comments turned into a frenzy of support. Ugh, don't cry, daughter. My heart is breaking. Baby girl's acting is top tier. Improvise, adapt, overcome. She's doing this on purpose to trigger the parents to attack the NPC, playing the family card perfectly. Dad, blinded by rage, raised his hand to slap me. Animal. Your sister treats you so well, and you repay kindness with enmity. I calmly pinched my fingers in a gesture. His slap hung in midair, unable to come down no matter how hard he tried. His dignity, as a father crushed, his face turned even uglier. Summer screamed, Dad! Look. She really knows black magic. Dad was shocked and furious. You dare use force on your own father? We wasted our kindness on you. I couldn't help but laugh. After returning to the Song family, Dad often said he would treat Summer and me equally. We both received a monthly allowance of $300 on paper, but Summer's account would always quietly receive an extra $30,000. 1 home, 2 lives. At school lunch, she would open a bento box Mom made by hand, 3 dishes and a soup, exquisite. I quietly swallowed the brown rice subsidized for poor students. While her closet was stuffed with designer clothes with tags still on, I was sewing patches onto my school uniform. When sewing the second patch, I remembered my master saying I had shallow karma with family. I smiled, chewing on the bitterness in my heart. So that's what shallow karma meant. After that day, I completely buried any foolish hope for family affection. So I really didn't understand how this man could shamelessly say he treated me well. I released the spell and looked at Summer. The heavens move with power, the true path stands alone. The earth is yielding, virtue carries all things. Summer song, if you persist in the evil path, don't blame me when you're struck by lightning and your soul is obliterated. Her expression was twisted. Stop pretending to be noble. You're just jealous that I stole your life as the real heiress. I shook my head and went upstairs. In the middle of the night, the living room suddenly became noisy. Mom called me downstairs to talk sense into Summer. Mom, Dad, sister must hate me. You are blood relatives. For the sake of this family, I'll leave. Mom grabbed her. What nonsense. I raised you with my own hands, you are my heart. If anyone leaves, it's the outsider. Correct. Dad only recognizes you as his daughter. Summer leaned on Mom's shoulder, eyes teary. But she flashed me a provocative smirk. I asked Dad calmly, if what she's doing bankrupts the Song family, will you still protect her like this? The comments exploded. The NPC didn't just spot the admission swap. She figured out the golden toad fortune stealing too? Is the NPC actually a wolf in sheep's clothing? Help, I'm kinda starting to stan the NPC. Dad was firm. No matter what Summer does, she is my daughter. I chuckled and laid out the truth. That golden toad isn't a wealth charm. It sacrifices the Song family's century of accumulated fortune to secure a future for her alone. You could invite any priest from the Sanqing temple, and they'd see the problem immediately. You've just been played by Summer and Masterly. Halfway through my sentence, Summer tried to rush over to stop me, but I had placed a binding spell on her she couldn't move. Thinking of the countless failing projects recently, Dad's face changed slightly. Just then Masterly arrived. Mr. Song, have the eldest miss drink this charm water, and the family's luck will turn. Thanks to the second miss spotting the issue, we knew to come. The house is unclean recently. I was afraid something dirty might latch onto the master. Dad suddenly spoke. Why don't we invite a priest from the Sanqing temple to help exorcise the evil together? Master Li's hand shook, almost spilling the water. Absolutely not. External energy will clash with the golden toad's flow. Now even Dad, as stupid as he was, could see Master Li's panic. His face darkened completely, like a storm was brewing. Why did you do this? Dad asked Summer abruptly. Her eyes were red. She suddenly started laughing. Why? Because I'm not your biological daughter. Jojo can inherit the assets. But me? When you die, will I be kicked out? Of course I had to secure a future for myself. Summer's words were like swords piercing my parents' hearts. Mom looked like she was about to collapse. When did Mom ever treat you like an outsider? Since you were little, didn't you get the best of everything? Even after Jojo came back, I still favored you because I was afraid you'd overthink things. Summer froze. But she continued to scream hysterically. I don't believe you. You feel guilty toward her now, so you'll definitely spoil her later. If she got into Harvard, what would I be in this house? Dad's face was pitch black. He shouted for someone to take her to her room. Seeing the tide turn, Masterly quietly inched toward the door, trying to run. Ah! He barely stepped outside before letting out a blood-curdling scream. A cultivator of the Tao, learning crooked arts to harm people. Are you not afraid of destroying your soul and falling into hell? A voice clear as a mountain breeze drifted in. Several figures in snow-white robes, radiating an ethereal aura, stepped into the hall. They looked like immortals descending to earth. My parents didn't understand cultivation, but they could tell these were no ordinary priests. Dad quickly wiped his face and squeezed out a smile to greet them. Masters, how can I help you? He turned to me. What are you staring at? Serve tea. But the group didn't even glance at him. They walked straight to me. The leader, my eldest senior brother, stood with his hands behind his back. Little junior sister, congratulations. You are the first disciple in 300 years to be personally selected by the ancestral master spirit. My second senior brother spoke with equal affection. Master sent us to bring you back to the mountain. He said you were being mistreated here, and it was breaking his heart. My parents' expressions froze. They looked at me in disbelief. Before I left, Dad suddenly chased after us, thick-skinned as ever. Good Jojo about the golden toad. Can you help resolve it? Before I could speak, third senior brother scoffed. Resolve it? Difficult. Mr. Song believes in dark arts so much. Why not ask Masterly to draw a few more charms for you? Dad's face cycled through green and white. He didn't have the face to speak again. Holy SHD. I was a loyal baby girl stan, but now I'm totally obsessed with the NPC. This is the true cool girl vibe. What kind of reverse psychology is the Song family playing? Kicking out the true boss to pamper an ingrate. Ha ha ha, who gets it? 1 second favoring the adopted daughter, the next realizing the bio daughter is a top-tier Taoist master. Does the Song family's face hurt from the slap? The stream comments completely flipped. I took one last look at this house and stepped over the threshold without looking back. A month after returning to the mountain to cultivate, I scrolled through the news during a break. The screen was filled with the Song family's disasters. Song Group capital chain ruptures, shareholders withdraw en masse. Mr. Song's properties seized by court, mansions and luxury cars auctioned. Former elites now homeless, feng shui backlash? Karma is real, heaven spares no one. From the NPC perspective, this is the real justice. The Song family fell as hard as they once stood. Reading the marketing accounts, I felt calm. Cause and effect. This was just the retribution they deserved. Late that night, while I was meditating, suddenly, a stream of dark, poisonous energy coiled around me like a viper. But the moment it touched my purple robe, it let out a screeching, sizzling sound. It was the same technique as the Lucky Charm Summer gave me. She really was stubborn and unrepentant. Last time, she wanted to swap my college admission. This time, she wanted to swap my very life essence, to replace me entirely. Did she really think she could pay the price for that kind of dark magic? Help, even baby girl's final trump card was spotted by the NPC. Neutral party here, but I have to say Summer just got wrecked by the NPC. Why doesn't she learn? I backed the wrong horse. Is it too late to join Team JoJo? The next day, I told my senior brother I had unfinished karma and needed to go down the mountain. When I arrived outside the Song Villa, I paused. The magnificent mansion had changed owners. Strangers were renovating the fountain in the garden. You looking for Mr. Song? The security guard's tone was strange. They moved out last month. Living in a basement apartment over in West Alley now. Sigh, the richest family ending up like that. What a sin. Following the address, I pushed open a moldy iron door. A damp, musty smell hit my face. Paint was peeling off the walls. The dim room was piled with cheap junk. Where was even a hint of their former glory? Dad was squatting in the corner fixing a chair with a broken leg. Mom was cooking a pot of plain noodles on a rusty hot plate. Summer was curled up on the only broken sofa, scrolling on her phone, the screen's blue light illuminating her gaunt face. Hearing the noise, all three looked up. JoJo Song. Mom's chopsticks clattered to the floor. Dad stood up abruptly, then awkwardly clenched the seam of his patched pants. What, the high and mighty celestial disciple is here to laugh at us? I don't have the time. I looked calmly at Summer. The dark arts you stole have backfired. If you don't stop, the Song family's bloodline will be completely severed, and you won't live past 3 days. Dad's face changed drastically. What dark arts? Summer, didn't you promise Mom and Dad you wouldn't use that stuff anymore? Shut up. Summer screamed and smashed a glass against the wall. You don't get to act like the good guy. My life was ruined by you. I'm living a life worse than death right now. Why should I stop? Okay, officially unfollowing baby girl. Classic deflection. She did this to herself. Why blame the NPC? Agree with above. If you think about it, the NPC is the victim. Hot take. Summer wanted to use black magic to shortcut JoJo's life from the start. JoJo was the one with talent who worked hard. What did the baby girl stands even see in her? I gave Summer one last look and turned to leave. But I knew she wouldn't be able to hold back. Sure enough, at midnight, Summer, wrapped in a cheap coat, snuck out of the basement. I melded into the moonlight and followed. It was time to end this farce. In a cold, dark alley, Summer stumbled as she pushed open an iron gate, whispering, "Mom." JoJo said this spell wouldn't just take the Song family fortune, but my life too? When the face covered in corpse spots turned around, my breath hitched. It was the Song family's nanny from over a decade ago, Nanny Zhang. She was the one who switched her daughter with me and threw me into the wilderness, then vanished. I didn't expect her to be hiding here, practicing dark arts. And she had led Summer down the crooked path too. Useless trash. Nanny Zhang's withered hand slapped Summer hard across the face. I planned this for 18 years, and you want to give up now? You believe the nonsense of some little girl? Summer clutched her face, shivering. But she was wearing a purple robe. The priest from Sanqing Temple said she was. How could a young girl have the skill to wear the purple robe? She's definitely wearing a fake to scare people. With her level of cultivation, I could handle 10 of her. I smiled faintly, my palm resting on my peachwood sword. Then, I deliberately stepped on a dry twig. Here it comes. The final showdown I've been waiting for. I can't even look at baby girl anymore. JoJo is so cool. Betting 50 cents JoJo kills Nanny Zhang. The snap of the twig was piercing in the quiet alley. Who is it? Nanny Zhang's face twisted as she heard the noise. She looked up and saw me standing casually at the alley entrance. Wretched girl, You dare deliver yourself to me? You ruined my plans. Don't think you're leaving here standing. A sharp wind attacked. I spun and drew my sword. The 1,000-year peachwood sword bloomed with golden patterns, dropping a dragnet from the sky. Nanny Zhang was easily trapped in the net. Every struggle released the stench of burning flesh. Summer watched this scene, collapsed on the ground, and began to dry heave violently. I tightened the sword seal inch by inch. The Mystic Heaven net is specifically designed to counter energy-stealing cultists. You've harmed countless people. Think about how you'll explain yourself to the King of Hell. Master, spare me. Prostrating on the ground, Nanny Zhang finally realized this little girl wasn't as easy to bully as she looked. She forced a fawning smile. This old woman knows the art of fate swapping. As long as you let me go, the Song family's luck, wealth, longevity, you can take whatever you want. I didn't give her the chance to finish. I swiped 2 fingers across the blade, and the net constricted instantly. Amidst a wretched howl, black smoke boiled and evaporated. When the last wisp of smoke vanished, only a puddle of foul-smelling blood remained on the ground. Moonlight flooded the alley again. Summer shook like a leaf, looking at me as if I were a ghost. I sheathed my sword and turned to leave. The next second, I heard Summer scream in absolute terror behind me. 3 years later, the morning bell of the mountain gate pierced through the sea of clouds. I sat under a 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree, on a video call with a high school classmate. They still kept Summer around. They tried starting businesses a bunch of times, but always lost money mysteriously. Now they're doing bottom-tier street vending. Life is pretty hard. She sent me a photo. My parents were running a roadside food stall. Dad's hands were covered in blisters from frying dough sticks. Mom was bending over to wipe down plastic stools. What about Summer? Her? She still thinks she's a genius. Said she'd definitely get into Harvard and bring glory to the Song family. But she repeated her senior year 3 times. Her best score barely passed the cutoff for a local community college. Inside the Sanqing Hall, sandalwood smoke curled upward. I heard the young Taoist initiates chanting. Fortune and misfortune have no door, people call them in themselves. I smiled and brushed a ginkgo leaf off my shoulder. Actually, Summer was naturally smart. With her grades as the second best in school, if she had just honestly sprinted for the finish line, getting into a top university was basically guaranteed. But she insisted on the wrong path. She chose the shortcut. The Song family's fortune was lost, and her own luck for lifetimes to come was gone too. Good and evil result in karma, following like a shadow. A crane landed by my knees, tugging at my sleeve to hurry me to morning class. Senior brother was calling me from ahead, saying Master was in a bad mood today, and I'd be punished if I was late. I smiled, stood up, and dusted off my robes. My path had only just begun. The end.